Hi friends, it's Terry Gaines. In this video, I'm going to give you some assembly tips and show you how to make a card using the Inspiring Canopy dies. I'm going to be using this tree die, which cuts out the 4 trees and the landscape, along with the landscape die, which cuts the landscape top, and you determine how long you want your cardstock image to be. The sentiment stamp I'm going to use is called the Inspired Thoughts, which is bundled with the dies I just shared. And the designer series paper that I'm going to use for this project is the Beauty of the Earth. You need 2 different colors, and I'm going to or 2 different designs. I'm going to use this piece for the main, and I am going to use this back of this side for the smaller piece. So I've got everything cut ahead of time, but just to let you know that you can take any 2 colors. I'm going to show you some samples when I get done assembling this card that have used some other combinations of this beautiful paper. There's 6 different designs. It's 12 by 12 and they are double-sided. Beautiful papers. So for the measurements, the designer series paper needs to be 5 1/4 by 3, and then the second piece needs to be 5 1/2 by 1 3/8. You need 2 colors. Well, actually, you can pick whatever color combination you want. What I've chose with this design is to have my card base be Mossy Meadow, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I've chose the same color cardstock for the secondary piece, which is 11 by 2, scored at 5 1/2, and then you fold that on the score line. And then the trees I'm going to cut out of Early Espresso cardstock, and I've indicated that this size needs to be 5 1/2 by 4 to cut this piece out. Now it's not going to cut this end out, but that's okay. We don't need that. We need the trees, and then we need them combined. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and I magically have all of that cut out already. So here are the trees cut out of the Early Espresso cardstock. Now the landscape die is going to be used to cut the top part of this fold, or this folded cardstock. So I have it folded on the left. I'm going to place this landscape die here and run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then it will be cut out like this. And so those are that prep work. For the prep work on this piece, we'll also run this through. And if I've cut this pattern like this, I personally don't want to cut the same pattern, so I just flip this die upside down, cut about 1/4 inch off the top of that piece, and then you'll have your landscape for your designer series paper. So we need those. So that's all the cutting you need to do for the main card. I have indicated on my measurement list and supply list that you need some basic white cardstock. And I like using, for the outside sentiment, a 3/4 inch wide strip. And what I love is this Banners Pick-a-Punch. I always get the name switched around, but I like using it for the 3/4 inch. You can put a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch strip in there, punch to get the banner. I do that ahead of time. Then I stamp my outside sentiment, and then I trim it to size. And I'm using with Heartfelt Sympathy for this card. And then I've indicated that we need 2 pieces that are 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I'm cutting these out with one of the rectangle stitch dies, and the die that's going to fit that, and cut both of those out with that. And then I'm going to stamp one with the sentiment and leave the other one blank. So everything's prepped. Now we just need to assemble the card. As I mentioned, you can use different color designers or designs for your designer series paper and different color cardstock. And we're going to go ahead and assemble this. Now I do like using, I'll hold on to that thought. I'm stepping a step ahead. So let's start out with assembly. So the designer series paper that is cut 5 1/4 by 3 going to take adhesive, and I'm going to use the seal adhesive, and I'm going to adhere this to the top portion of the card base. And there's about 1/8 of an inch on all the top and the two sides. I'm not worried about this area here. It's going to get covered up, and that's going to be covered up with this strip with the fold on the left. And the thought I was holding on to is I like using either my Simply Scoring or even my Stamparatus. The edge right here, the corner right here, that helps me do the rest of the assembly. So what I want to do is adhere this that is flush on the bottom and on the side. So I'm going to take adhesive, put on the back of this strip right here, where it's not the strip, it's the folded portion of the card. And I'm going to turn this upside down. Now the fold is on this side because I have it upside down, but what I like to do is place this right in the corner so it's flush on this and flush here. That allows me to bring this piece in and bring that down. That helps me get that aligned to meet up so it's nice and square. Now the trees are going to be placed on top of this piece. Now what I want to do is I am going to, hopefully I have a paper snips, or actually I might not have to trim that off because the die, but you might have to, and I'm just going to tear that piece off. We don't want anything to adhere over the edge. Now this is going to be lined up to how high you want it to be and your spacing on the side. Now here you do need to be careful. We're only going to put adhesive behind the base or the ground part of the tree, so I'm going to move that out of the way, put my adhesive here, and the reason is we're going to cover this up with that other piece of designer series paper. We don't want that adhesive so high that it gets exposed right here. We just need to put it right here for now, because we can put adhesive on the back of this piece, and when we get all the adhesive on the back of this piece and turn that again upside down, that allows me to run this piece along the edge till it hits that wall, bring that down, and that helps me get even here and even here. And if everything's cut even, it should fall into place here. Now the outside sentiment I'm going to put on with a couple dimensionals, and you can just use your regular adhesive, but I'm going to add a little bit of depth to this, and I'm going to place this along the edge, and you can turn this over like this, and I want to place it right like so. So that's the outside of the card. We open this up and we can place the blank one is going to go right here. That's going to allow you to sign the card, a space to sign the card. And the sentiment on this, the sentiment is going to go over here on this side and kind of get that even. And it looks like I could trim that off a little bit with my, you can trim that off, but that is the card. So I'll move this out of the way. So it's fairly easy to put together. It looks more difficult than it actually is, but what a fun card to make. So as I mentioned, you can change up the colors. So here's a different sheet of designer series paper. I use the top part for this edge, and then further down it got darker. I used that, and this is soft suede. Here's one that's using another piece of the designer series paper, and so you can really change this up. And here's one using those blues, and then I use the Night of Navy. So you can really change this up and get some fun cards. So as I don't know if I mentioned, this was my swap for the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip that I just returned from just a little over a week ago. I made 26 of these, so 25 other demonstrators got one of these, and then Stampin' Up! Kept one for the display board. It is also my Fun Fold project for the month of June. If you use my host code and place a $30 order, you will receive a packet that has everything cut out and ready to be assembled. You have to use your own stamps and ink, And then you will get supplies, use your own stamps, and you will get the supplies to make a miniature card on the instruction card. So this is my fun fold for the month of June using my host code. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you have fun creating it. Take care and stay safe and stay healthy.